Welcome to MindBody TV. I'm Dr. Kim Duramo, and I'm going to share a really powerful episode that will be enlightening and very awakening for you about what kind of world are we living in. We're actually in a quantum one. And if you haven't noticed the very strange things happening, things becoming way more intense, like what the bleep is going on, and you must have your head under a stone somewhere, because there is so much change and so much that's rapidly shifting in our world right now that's really calling us into a higher consciousness. So welcome to MindBody TV. I would love to hear where you're tuning in from. I'm Dr. Kim Duramo, and I am an expert in mind-body medicine. I'm a physician, and I've studied the way the mind and body are connected, the way the body has the ability to heal itself, and the way our consciousness affects our physical. And I've been fascinating with this most of my whole life and really dedicated my career in medicine to assisting that awakening so that we live in the highest vitality that is available. So I wanted to talk about how a lot of the 3D structures are falling apart, whether it's the systems of medicine based really on disease care, not actually health care, focusing on pathology, focusing on the problem, and now we're like the sickest country on the planet. What we focus on expands. Or we look at the educational system, which is kind of an old way of kind of setting people up as minions to be part of a system based on obedience and based on compliance rather than one based on creation and intelligence and ingenuity, and how that is no longer really serving what's needed right now. Or we look at our financial system, which is a debt-based system, not a wealth-based system, and how that's really falling away because it's not really aligned with who we are right now. So you might have noticed these systems falling away. Maybe you notice it for yourself, like old ways of doing your relationships or the job that you're in is just not fulfilling to you as a human. And so we can focus on all of these things and try to change them, but we cannot create the solution from the same consciousness that the problem was created in. And that's really, Einstein had pointed this out so long back, but it's just as true today. We've got to shift our consciousness in order to create in a new way. And so the first thing I wanted to share today about what kind of world are we living in isn't about like all the problems happening or what does this really mean or what do we do about that. It's really always about how do we shift into a consciousness from which we create solutions, from which we create that we're healthy and vibrant with ease, from which we create that we get more vital and vibrant and alive as we get older, from which we create systems and support for educating ourselves, educating our children, exchanging financially in a way that is based in abundance. And so the first thing we need to understand is that we are not actually functioning in linear time and space. So it might seem like, yeah, well, this physical thing is solid and it's separate from everything else. But when we look at a quantum level, and that's really what I wanted to make this episode about, is like, what is this quantum reality? Because when we live in that knowing, we can function so different and we create so differently. And so in the linear separation-based consciousness, this sure does look solid and it looks like I'm separate from everything else. So if I want something, I have to work really hard or I have to go out there and get it. The power is outside of me. The authority really knows what to do and I don't, right? So like our source is outside of us. This is a very, very low frequency way to function, because the only thing we could ever do is just, we gotta survive, we gotta get what's ours, we have to work hard for it because we're separate. And likewise, if we wanna have an impact on someone or something, we have to do that in 3D. We have to go out there and like physically move it around, or you wanna impact the world, you gotta write a book and share it, versus just being the intelligence of that, being who you're here to be. And so in a non-linear reality, we understand we're not separate. We're actually connected. Everything is energy. If I want to have an impact on the world, I can start right here, right now, because I am electromagnetic And every thought I hold, every intention I ignite and hold is already affecting everyone, everywhere, now. We are not separate. We are connected. And when we begin to interact with life from that knowing, the whole game changes. It's so much easier to create what we want. It's so much easier to connect with other people. It's so much easier to receive awareness, receive insight, receive intelligence, because it's not out there. I can be receptive to it in here. It's already part of my system. Just like we're not part of a physical, solid, separate reality, we're not functioning in linear time. And I remember one of my favorite mentors, a doctor named Larry Dawsey, wrote a book called Reinventing Medicine. And I read this way back when I was in medical school. I actually heard him speak, and my life was changed forever. So what he talks about is the non-locality, meaning it's not a physical location and time that we're having an impact on our patients, that we can actually impact our patients in the past, in the future, and they don't have to be physically right here with us. And he shared about this in the book, and actually Reinventing Medicine is on my recommended reading list for my Embracing Health course, because it helps people really get that this is the quantum science. And it demonstrates over and over with all kinds of examples how we're not in a causality of past and future the way we have believed ourselves to be. So for example, if I, and this was in the book too, they wanted to have an impact on people. They sent them images of a certain color and a certain picture and a certain structure. And then they were going to see if these people in a different location would pick up on those images. And what they found is before they even sent the messages, the people were already drawing those images, were already seeing those images, were already having that come up in their awareness. So it wasn't like your linear time as you've understood it before, during, and after, past, now, and future. We're actually not in a linear timeline at all. So it gets a little like, what? In fact, I remember it was a famous quantum physicist that said, if you think you understand quantum physics, think again, because you can't just function as like a normal person, put your pants on the same way ever again once you understand what this really means. It's a magical thing. It's a powerful thing. And so one of the big things to understand, what kind of a world are we living in, and how do I deal with all the stuff that's happening? And there's this political agenda, and there's, other beings who are trying to suppress us, or I'm being cyclically attacked. It gets really messy when you try to function in the old consciousness with what's happening now. We've got to step into a more expansive way of understanding. And so that's really what I'm intending to bring with this episode of MindBody TV. How is this resonating so far? Is it too weird? Does this even make sense? I want to hear from you. Where are you tuning in from? How did you find this work? And what questions do you have about what kind of world are we living in? How do I handle this? How do I handle my reality? How do I handle my job? How do I handle discussions about politics? Or do I just avoid them at all costs? So the other thing, besides the 3D falling apart, where we're no longer in linear time and space, is we are pure energy. We are meant to function multi-dimensionally, meaning your body is constantly receiving intelligence, information, and your body is constantly transmitting a signal that is felt by everyone. And I've recently written my second book called Be Your Own Healer, that brings all of these concepts home in a very tangible way that you can work with, that will ignite your ability to function in this timeline we are now on, in this higher frequency and consciousness, and let go of all the lower dimensionality of like separation, duality, right and wrong. Wait, my way's right. It's like whether you are on the right side or the left side, everybody thinks they're right, and they think the other guy is wrong and the other guy is bad. So what's falling away is the very duality of good and bad, of right and wrong, so that we can begin to function in truth, Never in history has this been more important. So I will include the link for the Be Your Own Healer book. It is just about to come out, so it is on pre-order right now. But as you read this book, it will speak to the deepest levels of your being. Your cells are always listening. And this book was designed to unlock the codes so that you begin to understand and you begin to function in a higher way. So there's like the slow way of like learning it, understanding it. Okay, this makes sense. Now let me figure out how to apply that and do the tools and make it integrate. Or you could just sit back, listen to this broadcast, read the book, and let it in, because the intelligence in you already knows how to function as a multi-dimensional being, how to function outside of linear time and space. Even if you're like, that makes no sense. What do you mean? Let me try to understand it. Can you explain this? First, just let in all of that, because it will unlock something in you when you just let go of the barriers, put down the barriers of needing to understand first. That's actually part of the old system of the linear timeline, the separation-based consciousness, and you actually don't even need to do that anymore. I'm going to share the link for the book because it is available on pre-order, and there's a really powerful program that goes along with it. So it's at drkimd.com/BYOH book. Be Your Own Healer book, BYOH book. So you can get your copy on pre-order right now. But this second thing I wanted to share about, so we've got the third dimension of linear time and space falling apart. The solution, just let go of needing to already understand. That's going to allow a major reset in your nervous system. The second thing I tapped into, we are pure energy. We are already quantum. And we can begin to function that way a little more, a little more, a little more, just 2% at a time. This is why so many people are in fight or flight. They're trying to clamp down around understanding, controlling. Wait, I need to get a handle on this. They're clamping down on the old functioning system that does not work. It's not going to do what you think it's going to do. It's not going to keep you safe. It's not going to get you ahead. It's not going to make anything happen. Let me manifest my reality. It actually doesn't work that way. What is required first is to let go, because that's the energetic reset. You are quantum. You are pure energy. You already are what you're seeking. And so now when there are like conversations about politics, or what do you think about that, or who do you want to be when you grow up, right? Whether, you know, you're being asked it in that specific way, or you're just, I want to get out of my job, but what do I do next? What if you could just let that whole functioning system fall away and remember the universe has your back. It is already encoded within you. And you can do more allowing and less white knuckling, clamping, controlling to let it unfold. Because the truth is, that is how this reality works. It's not so much a new reality. What's new is that the old stuff cannot work at all anymore. We used to be able to kind of pull it off and like white knuckle it through life. Let me control my kids. Let me control my career. Let me clamp down on my money and save. But you're gonna find like none of that, it's all gonna backfire. Not only does that not work, but now your kids are gonna be like overtly like expressing the fear of that, the anger, the hatred, the dysfunction of that consciousness. And if you keep trying to double down on control, it's just gonna get worse. What if you parent from love? What if you parent from non-resistance? Holding it in intention, but not with an agenda, right? So you let go of the attachment. And that means letting the fear move up, yes, but breathing so that it can release. We are no longer meant to live from fear. It is not going to work. And that's why so many people are feeling anxiety, is because that's what's falling away. It's going to come up to come out. Let it. when we have discussions with other people who think differently. So this is a major key. If you're like, what's right and wrong? I don't know, because I know for me a few years back, I started to realize, wow, everything I think I'm right about is being mirrored in all of these other crazy people who are clearly wrong, but they also think they're right just as strongly as I think I'm right. And I realized, whoa, what if that's not how we're meant to do any of this? What if none of us are right about anything because we're meant to step into a higher truth than the ones we already understand, than the things we already think? I'm meant to go beyond what I believe about this reality, right? Because everything you think is true is still just a thought. It's still just a belief, and it's actually from the programming, not your truth. And so for me, this was challenging because there was so much truth and so much awakening and so much awareness. So clearly I know, but it was creating so much discord and so much resistance because it was almost like I was fighting everybody. So I realized, wait a minute, what if I'm not right? You're not right. There is no right. There's only truth. So this leads us to that third point I wanted to make. We're moving out of linearity, time and space. We are quantum, we are pure energy, and we are moving beyond duality. Duality is right and wrong, good and bad, left and right, me and you, separation, into a space of pure acceptance, into a space of a higher truth than the one we understand. And so, for example, you have a conversation with someone who thinks differently than you think, either about what's happening in the world, or politically, or about raising children, or about, I don't know, medicine. Should we inject substances into our body? And you have these really strong beliefs and feelings, and you know what's true, but you're holding on to it tightly, and you realize, wait a minute, what if I soften around everything I think? Am I actually threatened by someone with a different perception than the one I hold? What's actually being threatened is my faulty perception. Am I actually threatened from someone who thinks differently than me? What if what's being threatened is my old belief system that's not actually true? Am I actually threatened from people who do it differently than I do it? What if what's actually being threatened is where I see myself as small and powerless? Because that's what's ready to fall away. All of those things. The idea that I'm powerless, the idea that my power is outside of me, the idea that I'm threatened by someone who thinks or does it or sees it differently. Because the I am that I am cannot be threatened. And we are ready to awaken into and live from the I am that we are. And this is exactly what I've brought in the Be Your Own Healer book. Because whether it's physical illness or a disease or some like major life-threatening thing or severe unrelenting pain or a crazy symptom like constant ringing in the ears and like doctors have told you there's nothing that can be done, or it's situations in your life that are unbearable, constant lack in money or crazy relationships or whatever might be going on that you just haven't been able to find your way out of. What if all of this is falling away so that you enter a truth that lies beyond everything you've understood? What if you let that be threatened, your perception, your belief system, your faulty self, and you just let it die? You just let it fall away. It's not who you are. Because through that dissolution of duality, right, it's going to intensify and be like this war of a nightmare of like reptilian beings are coming after me and they're all crazy. Or it's actually just an emergence beyond the collective delusion. Because when you see reality through the lens of that separation, it's going to just get scarier. You're just going to be more powerless. But when you realize, oh, all of it is just a created matrix, and I am connected with Creator. I'm not actually of the created, I'm connected with the Creator. I can connect with that space of Creator consciousness and let it live through me more fully. And so the next time you're up against that conversation and you feel the tension in your body and you see yourself advocating for your position, soften. Let something higher emerge through you. Remember, I am not actually threatened by this. Yeah, the small self thinks I am, but I'm not that small self. The I am that I am is not actually threatened by this. And can I allow myself to emerge into unity consciousness? Beyond duality, good and bad, right and wrong, them and me. Can I allow myself to emerge into unity consciousness, where I begin to see a whole new truth that lies beyond everything I've understood? The old world, the world that we have seen it to be, is what's falling away. The I am that we are is what's emerging and what's strengthening. And so next time you're in that conversation, just remember this. Soften your body. Get curious. Receive what that person is saying. Is it actually a threat to consider a new point of view? In Access Consciousness, they just say, interesting point of view, that point of view. From the part of me that knows I'm not threatened by your point of view or your way of seeing it or your way of doing it, I could just let it in. Now I'm a more harmonious being, I'm a more peaceful being, and I'm a vessel for that higher consciousness that is ready to create this world. So what kind of world are we in? A quantum one. And there's so much that's ready to fall away as we are growing, we are changing. You do not need to fear the fear. You do not need to fear the illusion of separation. You do not need to fear the illusion of powerlessness and all of the feelings and emotions that are part of that. Allow more breath to come through your vessel. Pre-order your copy of Be Your Own Healer. This shares a lot about my journey with things feeling like it was hitting the fan, but it was actually the greatest gift that ever could have happened. Because those things that felt like trouble, when I let them in, created catharsis, created emergence, created strength and true power. That which we truly are cannot be threatened. And with everything that's happening in the world right now that feels like a shit show, it's all part of allowing and facilitating the dissolution of the separate self. Are you on board for that? Are you in to play that game? I'll include the link here for your pre-order of Be Your Own Healer. When you read the book, it will unlock the codes within you. The codes of this exactly intelligence that's speaking through this video right now. It lives in you to an even more powerful degree. So you can unlock that wisdom within you. It will show you, it will guide you, and it will actually just create for you. When I read the book, Be Your Own Healer, in the editing process, right, as a receiver of the work, not as I'm writing it, I'm actually reading it. It changed me. It shifted me. I felt lighter. I felt a sense of unthinkable joy and elation. And major things shifted in my life without even trying, without even thinking about it. So new people came in, old people fell away in ways I didn't even realize weren't working for me. Major foundational shifts happen, and that's the power of this new consciousness. Let it in. If it resonates, order your copy, your pre-ordered Be Your Own Healer book here, and I'll share the link for that below. I'm super excited for you to experience this cellularly to even higher degrees. We are doing very exciting things this fall, so be sure you're subscribed at drkimd.com. Like this video, share this with someone you love, because a lot of people are very confused about what's happening in the world right now. What kind of world are we living in? What do I do with it? And they're trying to grasp from that old consciousness to function in this new reality, but it's not going to work. We're all going to let it fall away, and so many new things are coming in. So share, like, subscribe in YouTube, and I look forward to seeing you in our next weekly broadcast of MindBody TV. We will air these at 11 a.m. Mountain Time each Wednesday. And there's a backlog of all the previously recorded videos in my YouTube channel or on the MindBody community. If you're in Facebook, you can go in the MindBody community on Facebook to ask your questions, share with the community, connect with like-minded individuals who are also feeling like, what the bleep is going on, and choosing to emerge into a higher consciousness. So much love to you. Thank you for being here, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you for tuning in to MindBody TV. I would love to hear from you. Post a comment with any question, insight, aha, or just to say hello. Make sure you subscribe. Hit that subscribe button so you stay tuned for weekly episodes. I'll see you next week.